What's good, Tano, and welcome. Today's video is about the Bubonico builder for level 9199 ski path enemies in Warframe. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as 79.9% of you watching and not subscribed. And as always, before I build my weapons and my Warframes, I rely on my method called DVS. D, how to mod for your damage, what elements you're gonna be using, what the faction you'll be fighting. V stands for how you proc 10 stacks of viral to make enemies vulnerable by 325%. More damage to their HP, and guess what? Every enemy in the game has HP. S stands for stripping enemies armor. By lowering enemies armor, we lower their damage reduction to deal higher damage. Now, if you don't like my methods on how I proc viral and armor strip enemies, it's okay. You can check the sheet right here. It can help you maneuver around my methods to find your own style. In Warframe, you can do things in many different ways, but the results pretty much always the same. And please stick to the community guideline, what to do and not to do in the comment section below, so we keep it a constructive feedback where everyone comes after, can read and learn something or two. Now, the thing that you need to learn is that I take Revenant, so I don't boost the weapon in any way. But if you take Warframes that boost the weapon, or Helmet abilities boost the weapon, you'll perform even better. But if you take a Warframe that doesn't boost any of the damage, you'll perform the same way you see in the video. I don't use any Riven, so Revenant, no Revenant, and no Riven, as I can't expect you to have the same Riven or spend your Platinum for that. And honestly, even if you get the same Riven, it may not be the same tier, so Rivens is out of the way. And also we take things to level cap to make sure the build scale. Now, why? Because enemies' EHP scales based on level. Now, if we take an example right here and we take a Thrax. Thrax at level, let's say 500, as you can see right there, they have 22 million EHP on Steel Path, including the 1 million over guard. That's very amazing, right? So if we put this one at level cap, which is 9,199, Steel Path EHP is 112 million and 200,000, and over guard is 15 million. So what would you prefer? I show you a build performs on normal Steel Path or at its highest level. The same thing we do with weapons, for example, Warframes, for example, as the Warframe tankiness need to be tested at level cap, because the level cap damage scales as well. So you have to keep that in mind. So we take weapons to level cap because the enemy's EHP scales, and we take Warframes to level cap because enemy's damage scales. So that's how and the best way to test your builds and weapons. It doesn't mean you have to do level cap, but actually it can show you this build, how it performs and scales there. Let's go. And now before we go for Archon Shards, you need to learn what and how Corrosive actually works. Now, Corrosive by default is 10 stacks. The first stack will reduce enemies' armor by 26%, and every stack after will reduce enemies' armor by 6%. 10 stacks, 80%. So, if we don't have a Helmet ability or a Fox School to armor strip enemies, we go for 2 Emerald Archon Shards to push the stacks of Corrosive from 10, 80% to 14 for 104%, 100%. Now, of course, you can run 1 Tau Forged for 98%. I don't like it for 2 reasons. First, because it's not 100%. Secondly, enemies with yellow HP means armored enemies. They are not turning red, so I can't identify which one is actually armor stripped to calculate the damage for you to know. So, but, as I said, they're optional and use them only if you don't have, for example, a Helmet ability or Focus School to armor strip like Uniro. Now, the other Violet Archon Shards, they are irrelevant because they are for melee weapons. And Nourish, you don't need it at all. Forget about the Helmet abilities, it doesn't really matter. Now, when it comes to Revenant, and you can apply this in any Warframe you want, Worthy Camaraderie, 75% weak pointed critical chance. It's not necessary, it's tested with and without, because I know a lot of you surviving with Brief Respite, so it doesn't really matter, trust me, Tano. Arcane Acceleration for fire rate, Arcane Rage on headshot, 50% chance for 180% damage, and everything else, it doesn't really matter in here, and we're gonna even test it with Excalibur later on the video. Now, when it comes to the Bubonico, now, this Bubonico is really amazing weapon, as his, let's say, magazine reload itself. Unique trait, alternate fire shoots a burst of 3 viral explosives. That's why I said you don't need Nourish. This weapon can do its own viral. Galvanized Hell, multi-shot, on kill 30%. Multi-shot for 20 seconds stacks up to 4 times. Makes this weapon really powerful. As you can see here, we have 14.7 multi-shot before even Galvanized Hell kicks in with the buff. Galvanized Savvy, statue chance on kill 40% direct damage per statue type affecting the target. Now, the most amazing thing about Galvanized Savvy, it's multiplicative to base damage like Primate Point Strike. So that's why we have Primate Point Strike right here for damage. Primate Cleanse Orkin is multiplicative damage against the faction you're fighting. Now, If you're fighting, for example, Grenier, you switch to Grenier. If you're fighting Corpus, you switch to Corpus, and so on and so on and so on. But a lot of Thanos doesn't like to do that. So, for example, I can tell you, you can use the Hunter Munitions. You can use the statue duration from Hunter Truck. You can use whatever you want. Like, Vigilante Fervor for fire rate. Vigilante Armaments for more armaments for more multi-shot. Blaze, for example, if you want to add heat and for example mix it up, now it become electricity and gas because you have another way of armor stripping, and you can like run around and change things based on your liking. As I said earlier, there is no build written on stone. Keep in mind that you can switch things, depends on your style. Add critical declaration for critical chance and -5 rate, primed ravage for critical damage, contagious spread for toxin, primed shell, charged shell for electricity, galvan acceleration for projectile speed, and 30% beam ran on kill, 30% projectile speed. And there you go, primary deadhead on precision headshot kill, 120% damage for 24 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. 30% headshot multiplier and -50% weapon recoil. Now, why we are using primary deadhead? Because if you pay attention here, the main fire will have 75% critical chance, 4.8 critical damage before the 120 from your Verglas and so on. And as you can see right here, this is what we're going to rely on. Alright, now if we go and look at the radial attack, it has a low critical chance. Now, of course, there is ways to boost this critical chance, for example with Mesa, for example with Citrine, for example with Adarza Kavat, for example with Arcane Avenger, but they are very specific builds for specific things. You can go that path, there is nothing wrong with that, and you can still use even the same build. Okay, now for the Thanos that doesn't know how to get galvanized mods, it's pretty easy. You can go play the Arbitration, you get Vitus Essence, you go to any relay, to Arbiters of Hexes, first NPC to the left. Thank me later. But if you don't have the Vitus Essence or you don't want to farm Vitus Essence, there is the normal versions of this one. For example, the Galvanized Hell has its own Hell Chamber, and the Savvy has its own Savvy. Right here. Use this until otherwise. Now, the primed mods, these mods, you get them from Barukitir. He comes once every 2 weeks. You need ducats to trade for his loot. The ducats you get them by crushing your primed and necessary prime parts at any relay with kiosk. There's kiosks there, just like crush them and everything. Just ask around, everyone will tell you. But if you don't have enough ducats and Barukitir not around and you don't have these mods, simply you can use the normal mods. For example, point blank. There is no normal point blank. And so on and so on, you get the point in here. Simple as that. Now, as you can see, the build having corrosive and viral on the radial attack, and that's like pretty much how we're gonna plan and prime those enemies there. Now, of course, during the video you saw me using the ump. My ump is 177, Rock-like Prism from the Quills Cetus, Proper Scaffold and Certus Brace from Little Duck on Fortuna. Now, the arcanes I'm using, Eternal Enslout and Eternal Eradicate. Now, when it comes to the companion I use, there is a lot of companions, they're amazing in the game and all, but my favorite is Nautilus, because it helps a lot when it comes to pulling enemies for free without the need of any helmet ability or Magus anomaly, because I'm using Magus Lockdown. Cordon to pull enemies, Duplex for the clones, Assault to attack, Vacuum for the loot, Manifold for more Cordon, and then Shield, Armor, Health, then Fire Rate, then Tenacious Bond for 120% critical damage. It's really amazing, but your sentient weapon need to have 50% critical chance. The best one is Verglas Prime, but if you don't have Verglas Prime or a Riven for Verglas Prime, because it needs a Riven to reach 50% plus critical chance, you can go for Primed Razor Rifle, Burklock, or Burst Laser Prime. For Verglas build, there you go. As you can see, even if I take off the Riven from here, really quick, you'll see that even with critical delay, I can't reach even the 50% to get Tenacious Bond active. Simple as that. Now let's get to testing in Simulacrum. And we will summon level 230 heavy corrupted gunners. How I can summon level 230? Because of mastery. The higher mastery you have, the higher level you can summon. We will start with Revenant. We'll start first with the normal fire. So, as you can see, we're just like destroying them. No issue there. And pretty much the level 230, day to day, basically, this is what level you'll be playing against most of the time. As you can see, the magazine reloads itself. So the trick here, as much enemies are under, I think, 3000, don't spam. Just like, look at it, boom. Like, even one bullet takes them out. Look at that, like 2 bullets that guy took. But yeah, you get the idea. Don't go like, grrr. There is no need, no need. Now, when we go for the alt fire, which is the tic tac tick boom, look at that. See it? We got the 10 stacks, of corrosive. We go more again. There you go. We are armor strip them, and they're pretty much like a piece of paper to cut through. Now, of course, as I said, you can use this build with any Warframe you want. Seeing is believing. That's why we're going to be using Excalibur. Now, with Vortic Embroidery, Arcane Rage, Arcane Acceleration, same thing. Nourish, I'm not going to be using it. It doesn't matter. Actually, I'm going to take even off the Vortic Embroidery just for you. Okay? Let's go. Take this out. Vortic Embroidery, just to mention that you don't really need Vortic Embroidery. It's just to help guarantee that you will have a critical chance on headshots on the alt fire, which has like 9%. Right, go. And then one more time. Go, boom, boom, alt fire. Once, twice, and then destroy them all. They will not survive any of your shots. Okay, let's go. One more time, boom. That's one. Two, they are totally primed. And the Galvanized Savvy will kick in. Now, one more thing I want to talk to you about is that I made a mistake with the Arcane Acceleration. I hope no one commented already that it doesn't work on shotguns, because it's a shotgun, but use tempo, Arcane Tempo instead for fire rate. Okay, always make that mistake. It happens, but there you go. Arcane Tempo is the one you use instead of Arcane Acceleration because it excludes shotguns. Good, I remembered, so they don't eat me alive in the comment section. And by this we reach the end. I will give this weapon 7 out of 10. Really amazing weapon, and it's worth your investment, and it's worth trying, and it scales all the way from level 1 to level cap, steel path, no problem at all. Now, I want to say thank you so much for watching, liking, subbing, commenting, joining my Discord, follow me on Twitch, follow me on TikTok, and big love to you all. Thank you so much for Hall of Members, special VIP, and disputed donators and Hall of Donations for all your amazing support. And special thanks to all my community, and I'll see you guys next time. Tic-tac, tick-boom.